Connecticut's Beardsley Zoo is the only zoo in the state of Connecticut. So by just being the only facility of its kind, we hope people will come to visit us, just because it's unique for Connecticut. However, knowing that, you can go to the Bronx Zoo or you can go to zoos in Massachusetts. We also have to look at how we can get guests to come in who may not think about the zoo very often. And the way we do that is we try to bring in sometimes guests. We try to do it in many different ways, actually. We'll do it through special guests. This year, we had two giant tortoises that came visit us for the summer. And they're only for the summer, only something special for this year. So if you come now, you're not going to see it next year if you don't come, to see it right away. Other ways we do that is through marketing. We try to look at what kind of marketing is out there that the state is doing, that the region is doing. We try to mirror that. But we also try to put a twist on it a little bit. And that way, when people are driving down the highway, they look at the billboards and hopefully get excited. That if we're going to do any kind of advertising, it has to be something that will resonate in people's minds, will be something they talk about. So it not necessarily has to be just informational. It has to be something that will be visual enough to where they will stop, look at it, maybe not on the highway, but stop, look at it, and then remember it. And that's one of the things we have to do. Other ways we do that is new exhibits all the time, new exhibits, bringing in new exhibits for new animals that we may not have had before, and increasingly looking at the zoo as something new, not something that is just a traditional family experience, which it is, but also looking at a way that we can continue to have people think about us in a different way. Repeat visitors are vitally important for any institution. Our marketing dollars are not that great till we can continually hammer out there and get people to come visit the zoo from other areas. So we want to make sure that people who come to visit the zoo will want to come back. We do that in a couple of ways. One is that guest relations. We have to make sure that we give the best guest experience they can possibly have. Staff is trained to make sure they're friendly, talking to people. And a lot of the bigger zoos, don't have the time to get out there and actually be with the public. So we make sure that our staff, from the guest services people to the animal care people to myself, go out there and talk to our visitors, make them feel welcome, make sure the facility is clean and neat. So really that's the number one thing. The other thing, again, is looking at ways that they can interact with their family. So doing a lot of different educational programs. So education programs that be changing all the time. So you can come in October and see an educational program, but then come back in November for another educational program. So that's the kind of way we look at the way to get people to come back again and again by continually making ourselves new. And that's something it's hard to do sometimes with the animals, but we can do that with programming. And programming, continually making it new and making it friendly and making it the best guest experience they can have. That's what we can do at Connecticut's Beardsley Zoo. This is a California king snake. California king snakes are common in California. They're in the pet trade a lot. And what happens is people buy them as pets, but don't realize that snakes are real escape artists. And this one was actually found in the streets of Bridgeport. Was in relatively bad shape when we got it, and we've been able to get him back up into working order. And now we use them for educational programs. Again, taking him out to schools, taking him out for programs, and again, showing a little bit more of what the zoo is, not just me talking about it, but actually showing it out there. At somebody who knew what they were doing. It was the director of the Bronx Zoo, and his name was William Conway. And William Conway wrote a paper back then, way back when, in the archives, and it was how to exhibit a bullfrog. What that whole article was how do you take something like a bullfrog that you can go out into a pond anywhere and see it, and why would you come to the zoo to see a bullfrog? Well, his whole paper was on you can exhibit a bullfrog in so many different ways, from habitat, from its life history, from how many offspring it has, to literature. So just taking a really common animal like a bullfrog, you can make a whole zoo just on a bullfrog. It's one of the best things I've ever read because it was something how you continually reinvent yourself, how you can make the zoo a wonderful place without having to go and spend millions and millions of dollars to make your guests happy.